format that like anybody who licensed our system, if they fucked around with, and then so they would need a content feed in order to continue feeding it, and so like you couldn't just turnkey copy it, but the cost structure was the biggest one by making an embedded device. But I mean, we see that today, right? I mean, cars can be remote or more updated, but obviously in the 90s, 2000s. But anyway, that thing. So all the lessons we learned in consumer electronics helped go to enterprise. But again, as soon as the iPad came out, I was like, we just use that, So like in our code base, getting away from the first version had a scanner, and barcode scanning is patented by Symbol. So if you try to scan off of a camera, Symbol will come along and sue you. And so you kind of have to like buy an $80 physical device to do your, just because of that, the patent control. So in business, patent control is useful. But yeah, as soon as the iPad came out, it was just like, what do we do? We just need to reflash those and then be able to power them. But then it was also, once you solve the problem, if you're a big company, you just hand it off to other people to kind of optimize the problem. Like the kind of enjoyment for me was to kind of like learn something new, think about the problem, build it, and then do it. But once it hits $10 million, then it's like, okay, that's cool. Let's go off. But there's a bunch of other kind of so that occupied a lot of time. And then also getting pulled with Toshiba. I spent a lot of time with Toshiba's flash memory division. Because they were losing the HD DVD battle, and so they needed to basically diversify their bet in terms of how they were going to, because DVDs were originally created by a partnership between Toshiba, Philips, and Warner Brothers. So to do a new format, and so they created a consortium where they contributed their IP, and then they agreed to split the royalties, and that agreement became the cash cow for the industry.
Right.
That cash cow was was not going to happen again because of Blu-ray and HDVD, and Toshiba was afraid of that, and so they wanted to like have migrate into Flash, and so because of our digital media background and our codec background, I spent a lot of time with them, kind of architecting the next phase of it. But anyway, anything else you want to know? I'm sorry. I feel like
you answered all my questions and more, and started my brain on the next rabbit hole. And I'm probably going to go and look through the GitHub you've got there and play around with stuff I find in there. I think I'd definitely like to write like a blog or article or make a short video or something, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Awesome.
And just from the gallery on the side here, I'm his father, and I grew up as a developer through all that time period. I went the other direction. I started off with VB for DOS, and
VB for DOS.
Yes.
Okay.
I went VB for DOS, and then went up through the Visual Basic, and then all through that. I work at SSA, Social Security Administration, as a developer there, and but for each one of those technology changes, I remember every single one of them.
That's cool. Working for Social Security. That's cool. I worked for the SEC like 3 years ago. Working for the government is a whole different beast in itself.
Yes.
It's a whole different. That's cool. Yeah, I mean, it's cool.
Thank you for the wonderful explanations and your history there.
Yeah, that was very cool. I wasn't expecting, because there's been a couple other times I've gone down some sort of path through early internet history and whatever thing that I'm trying to learn more about, and then I get to a name and it's linked to an email account that probably hasn't been touched. I'm really surprised I got a response. So thank you very much. Especially it was like 15 minutes later. That was awesome.
Like I'm surprised too. I think what happened was that I routed some previous emails to come to and I don't know, I get pinged every once in a while, and but it's cool. I mean, it's cool to it was clear that you didn't find the GitHub, because more times than often I get contact with GitHub where people want to like ship some product. They want to take it and do some great thing, which is fine.
No. I guess to back the train up on how I ended up here, I went and I bought Pocket PC. It's sort of just for the sake of it, because I noticed that they're dirt cheap. Nobody wants them, and I think they're kind of cool. And then it ended up going down the rabbit hole of like all the sort of technologies of the time. It's like, now I could take this and put a 256 gigabyte SD card in it, but then what's the point of that? Because I could also just pick up my phone. So then I found like the Click Drive, and then there's like a camera that uses Click Media. I don't know. I just thought they were cool, and I found an MP3 player that used it, and I got it, and it was a surprisingly really well-made thing, because I had never heard of Daddio at the time, and I had never I know of iOmega, but it didn't seem to be something they designed in-house. But I was very surprised to find something that was this well made, especially when you consider the other MP3 players of the time, like the Diamond Rio and the other
Creative Labs.
Yeah. Most of them are kind of built like garbage. They're the cheapest, stinkiest stuff that works. And this feels like something that came out of like 2005, 2006. It's really well made. The software's really well done, and I was impressed by it. And I went and I started looking, and I smelled some sort of interesting history, and I stepped in the right place. So thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you. I mean, iOmega, you should try and find like the CTO of iOmega at the time. He was a really cool guy. He was, definitely was like, there's a lot of, there's a lot of interesting things going on. But I'm glad it's cool. I'm glad to help you out, and I hope it's cool to see that you collect that stuff. Yeah. That's somebody collects it. It's cool to see that the Easter eggs online too.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I think that's all I've got. So thank you again for hanging out for an hour. That was great. If I end up making a video or a blog post, I'll send it your way so you can check it out before it goes live or whatever.
Sure.
All right. Awesome. Hope you have a great rest of your day.
Cool. You too.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.